Did Mr. Miami get his first win in the 2024 season? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Jimmy Foosball here, bringing you the HFL 24 Week 7 recap. It is our halfway point of the regular season. Let's see what happened in Week 7, starting with our fantasy player of the week. Lamar Jackson puts up a nuclear 34.44 points, 17 for 22, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, 9 rushes for 52 yards on top of that. Our kicker of the week, Austin Seibert, with 17.2 points, 4 for 4 on the field goals, 4 for 4 on the extra points. And the defense of the week, the Denver defense special teams, 21 points, 1 touchdown, 2 fumbles recovered, 6 sacks, and only 10 points allowed. Going through our matchups in Week 7. Our first matchup features our team of the week, Bamford Legend versus Just My. In this matchup, Fink gets the W, 149 to 115. Some notables for Fink: Zay Flowers injured in the game, George Kittle injured in the game, Jawan Jennings out this week, Dak and Tolbert on the bye week. Like I said though, Bamford Legend is our team of the week. Let's go through the lineup, starting with Brock Purdy, 17.18 points, 212 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley revenge game, and my God, did he get his revenge. 26.7 points, 176 yards, and a touchdown. Joe Mixon, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns for 26.4 points. Stephon Diggs, 4.8 points, 5 receptions for 23 yards. Zay Flowers, 1 reception for 11 yards, 3.5 points. He gets injured. George Kittle, 12.2 points, 6 receptions, 92 yards. Tony Pollard, 61 yards for 7.5 points. David Njoku, wide receiver 1 for the Browns, 18.6 fantasy points, 10 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. I'm just seeing now that Fink went double tight end strat, and it pays off. That's insane. The Eagles defense, 15 points, only 3 points allowed to the Giants. They looked pretty bad. And our kicker of the week, Austin Seibert, 4 for 4, 4 for 4. I read the stat earlier. 17.2 fantasy points. Great week for Fink, although he does have to deal with some injuries now. On the other side for Cleary, some notables: Pop Douglas. They don't say it until after the game starts. He's dealing with an illness. I don't know if he played at all, to be honest with you. He did. He played a little bit. He got 2.4 fantasy points. That's tough. Cleary also starts Sam Darnold over Kyler Murray. Top performers for Cleary are the Denver defense, our defense of the week, Justin Jefferson and Josh Jacobs, the 2 JJs. Josh Jacobs' first career reception touchdown this week. He also adds 76 rushing yards for 17.7 points. And Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions for 81 yards and a touchdown, 17.9 points. Denver defense, I read you the stat line. They went off for 21 points. Fink now with a 5-2 record, Cleary with a 4-3 record. Our second matchup of the week is between I'm on a boat, or I should say I'm on a boat, versus he on suicide watch, aka the commish. For Lombardi, he gets the W, 121 to 89 points for the commish. Jaden Daniels injured this week. It's a rib injury. He leaves very early, only putting up 5.24 fantasy points. Mike Evans, serious hamstring injury. He put up 1 reception for 25 yards and a touchdown. Kind of crazy. 9 points. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. Quentin Johnston out this week with injury. Roshan Johnson on the bye. Top performers for Lombardi are Tank Bigsby, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Brian Thomas Jr. Tank, 24.8 points, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Solid. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 receptions, 112 yards, and a touchdown, 22.2. And for BTJ, 5 receptions for 89 yards and a touchdown, 19.6. We also have Mark Andrews still in the lineup, 4 receptions, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And on the other side for Boston, Taysom Hill out, Jalen Polk injured, Jerome Ford also out, and Dobbs was benched against the Texans this week. His top performers, take a shot if you've heard these 3 names before: Kyron Williams, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. Jesus Christ. I'm blackout drunk. Joe Burrow, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns for 14.94 points. Kyron, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns, 19.6 points. Jamar Chase, 5 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown for 15.1 points. Josh Downs, 0.8 points. Why did you start him against the Dolphins? Are you dumb? Barty now with a 5-2 record. Boston with a 2-5 record. Third matchup for week 7 is between the Hairline Avengers and the manager. Gabe gets the victory, 112-94. Travis Etienne out this week. TJ Hawkinson, the new trade acquisition, ruled out right before the game starts. And this is Chubb's first game back after his horrific injury. And Caleb Williams on the bye week. Gabe top performers include Jahmyr Gibbs, George Pickens, and Geno Smith. Geno Smith, 207, 2 touchdowns, 17.78 points. Jahmyr Gibbs, monster performance. I think Montgomery went out for a little bit this game. 116 yards, 2 touchdowns for 31 points. And George Pickens now with Russell Wilson throwing him the ball, 5 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae Smith, 1 reception for -2, 0.3. That's tough. Cortland Sutton with a donut. That's tough. Doesn't matter though. He still gets the W against the manager. On the manager side, we got Chris Olave out. His tight end start-sit decisions are still unlucky as this week he chose Laporta. And guess who scored the touchdown instead? Tucker Kraft gets the touchdown on the bench. That's tough. Laporta puts up 3 points. David's top performers include Bijan Robinson, Will Rijkaard, I think is how you say his name. He's a kicker. And the Cincinnati defense. This week, CJ Stroud puts up 86 yards. Am I reading that right? 86 yards against the Packers? That looks like an error. That's insane. The Cincinnati defense, 15 points. They get a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and allow 14 points. And for Rijkaard, 3 for 3 field goals, 2 for 2 extra points. Tough week for the manager. Gabe with a 3-4 record. David with the 2-5 record. Our fourth matchup of the week is between Sosa Jefferson and Squidward Tortellini. It is our top 2 in the standings battle. Both teams on a 3-game winning streak, but only one can win. And this week, that is Sosa Jeff getting the W, 100.54 points to JP's 85.8 points. For Zach, we got CeeDee Lamb on the bye week, DeAndre Swift on the bye week, Jake Ferguson on the bye week, Brandon Ayuk injured this week. He is out for the season. That is tragic for Zach. Zach's top performers are Lamar Jackson, our fantasy player of the week, Cade Otton, and Kaimi Fairbairn. Interesting names here. We read the Lamar stat line earlier. He went nuts, 34.44 points. DeAndre Hopkins, 1 reception for -2 yards, 0.3 points. But guess what? He is a Chief now, so congratulations, Zach. Brandon Ayuk, 2 receptions for 23 yards, 3.3 points. He's been pretty disappointing all year, and now he can't even redeem himself as he is out for the season now. And Kaimi Fairbairn, 3 for 3 field goals, 1 for 1 extra point. Cade Otton, 8 receptions, 100 yards for 15 points. He picks up the slack as Chris Godwin and Mike Evans go down this week with injuries. For JP, Juju Smith-Schuster out this week. Cole Kmet on the bye, and it is Devontae Adams' first week as a New York Jet. How did he do? Top performers for JP, Kenneth Walker III, James Conner, and Jordan Love. Jordan Love, 16.8 points, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kenneth Walker III, 69 yards, 2 total touchdowns, 22.3 points. James Conner, 101 yards, 17.2 points. Tyreek, still looking stinky, 1.8 points. Jaden Reed, 2 points. Isaiah Likely, 2.7 points. He got dropped this week. Spoiler alert. Devontae Adams, first week as a Jet, 4.5 points. David Montgomery, not only does he get injured, but he fumbles as well, 6.5 points. Going through his whole lineup, I can't believe this man didn't duck this week. That's crazy. Top 2 teams in record. It was a little disappointing, but it is what it is. Fantasy football can be like that sometimes. Zach now with the 6-1 record, the 4-win streak still going strong. JP with a 5-2 record. Fifth matchup of the week is our game of the week. It's an exciting one. It features Mr. Miami and Fratty Jones. Joe, Mr. Miami, gets his first W of the 2024 season against JD. He wins 129.8 to 122.6. Mr. Miami, the second highest scoring team this week, and he wins in dramatic fashion. Let's go through it. For Joe, he benches Rashad White. That is 26.1 points on the bench. Debo Samuel has an illness. They say it's pneumonia. He drops a donut. Tank Dell also drops a donut. Travis Kelce, 3.7 points, but god damn it, if there's a will, there's a way, and Mr. Miami found the way. Top performers for him are Baker Mayfield, Javonte Williams, and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, 93 yards and a touchdown for 19.1 points. Javonte Williams, 24.6 fantasy points, 88 yards and 2 touchdowns on Thursday to start the week for Joe. And then Baker Mayfield, the man who put him over the edge to victory, 370 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions for 28 points. For JD, we have Nico Collins and CMC both on IR still. Keon Coleman, 15.5 points left on the bench. Alexander Madison, 13.8 points left on the bench. Some starters, Leggett in the flex, Xavier Worthy, his wide receiver 2, and Alvin Kamara, running back 1, all combined together for 11.2 fantasy points. Aww. Top performers for JD are Jalen Hurts, Kareem Hunt, and Najee Harris. Jalen Hurts, 114 yards, 3 total touchdowns, 22.76 points. Najee with 102 yards and a touchdown for 17.2 points. And Kareem Hunt looking like a bowling ball out there, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21.3 points. However, it is not enough as Friday suffers a tragic loss and gives Mr. Miami his first win of the season. Joe now has a 1-6 record, JD with a 2-5 record. And our sixth and final match is between Intimidation Infinite XX and Brees Company. Mike gets the win 117 to 78. Cooper Kupp starts practicing this week. However, he is ruled out before the game. Jacoby Myers still out as well. And Chris Godwin, the wide receiver 2 in fantasy football, suffers a season-ending ankle injury in garbage time. Top performers for Mike are Derrick Henry, Breece Hall, and Bucky Irving. He starts Patrick Mahomes this week after the bye week. He puts up 12.06 points, 154 yards, a rushing touchdown, which literally saved the week, and 2 interceptions. Breece Hall, 38 yards, a ton of receiving yards and catches, and a rushing touchdown for 24.1 points. Derrick Henry, just looking like a unit out there, 169 yards, and a reception touchdown, actually, for 25.7 points. Bucky Irving, 23 yards, a bunch of catches and receiving yards as well, and a rushing touchdown for 15.2 points. For Frank, he is our Duck of the Week. We will go through his lineup, but first, Keenan Allen, Rico Dowdle, and Brandon Aubrey, the kicker of the year, all on bye week. Jonathan Taylor still out with his injury, and Frank tries the 2 tight end strategy, and DK Metcalf leaves the game early with an injury. He looked like he was going to have a super solid week before he went out. So going through our Duck of the Week lineup, we got Josh Allen, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, 22.02 points. Devin Singletary, 18 yards, 2.6 points. Trey Sermon, 36 yards, 5.4 points. Garrett Wilson, 5 receptions, 61 yards, 10.6 points. Better than Devontae Adams. DK Metcalf, 4 receptions, 99 yards, and a touchdown, 17.9, but he leaves the game early. Evan Ingram, 5 receptions, 35 yards, 6 points. Calvin Ridley, 3 receptions, 42 yards, 5.7 points. Kyle Pitts, second tight end. He stole him from Brees Company. Just kidding. He didn't steal him. He was dropped, so he picked him up. 7 receptions, 65 yards, 10 fantasy points. The New York Jets defense sucking it up to the Pittsburgh Steelers. -4 points. That is tough. And Evan McPherson, the substitute for Brandon Aubrey, 2 points in the kicker position. Mike now with a 5-2 record. Frank with a 2-5 record. And here we have our current current standings, Zach sitting firmly in first place with a 6-1 record. 4 teams with a 5-2 record. Cleary, the lone 4-3 record. Gabe, the lone 3-4 record. 4 teams with a 2-5 record, and Joe with the 1-6 record. Noting that Joe is only 1 game back from 4 teams. There is still hope. And looking into our Week 7 preview, some notable matchups here include Frank 2-5 versus Joe 1-6. That's going to be an interesting matchup. We'll see who takes that one. We have JD 2-5 versus Zach 6-1. JD going to try to play spoiler and turn his year around. And our best friends forever matchup between JP 5-2 and Lombardi, who is also 5-2. That's always a fun one to watch. And before we sign off here, we do have a trade alert that went down this afternoon, 2:03 p.m. It's a familiar name, Sosa Jeff. This time he is trading with Kamish. It is a 1-for-1 trade. Sosa Jeff acquires DJ Moore, and Boston acquires J.K. Dobbins. What do we think of this trade? Did Sosa Jeff do it again? You decide that one. Been a wild year so far, and we're only halfway through it. We got a lot more football to be played. Thank you guys for tuning in this week with our exhilarating Week 7 recap. Hopefully, Week 8 is a good one as well. I'm your host of the HFL recap, Jimmy Foosball. I will see you all next week. Thank you for watching. Peace.